Sean Carleton joins me now. He's a professor and historian of Indigenous settler relations at Mount Royal University. He is in Calgary today. Sean, great to have you here on the program.
Thanks for having me. Your
thoughts right now in terms of where things stand. We heard the Prime Minister on Friday saying now is the time for the barricades to come down. The one in Quebec was dismantled, in Saint-Lambert was dismantled last night. The one in Belleville, Ontario, which has been up for now 2.5 weeks, still standing strong.
Yeah, well, I think that Canadians need to understand that the Prime Minister's kind of change in tone yesterday, for me as a historian, was quite concerning. If you listen to his comments, he ruled out using the military to take down the barricades, which I think is a smart decision. However, his comments, his vague comments, left the door open to use police force to take down the barricades, which should be concerning for many Canadians. I understand that people are frustrated, that the blockades are inconvenient. However, using force in this situation, I think, really risks escalating tensions and making things actually worse, both in the short term and the long term.
The Prime Minister seemed to, however, put the ball in the court of Indigenous leaders when it came to bringing down those barricades. Yes, there's a police presence there, and he did say that he trusted the police would handle things properly and towards working towards a peaceful resolution. But talk to us a little bit more about that concern, because, of course, for those of our viewers that don't understand sort of some of the past incidents that have happened, of course, Ipperwash in '95, Oka in 1990, in terms of, in both cases, things ended, things continued on and resulted in violence, fatal violence in both cases. But talk to us a little bit more about that concern there, and whether or not, are you saying that there's a possibility things could get violent?
Well, I think one of the things that your viewers need to understand is that the Wet'suwet'en chiefs have been very consistent in terms of their demands, which are simple: RCMP out of their unceded territory and a pause of the Canada GasLink project so that nation-to-nation negotiations can resume. And for some reason, Canadian politicians of all political parties seem to be struggling with how to respond to those demands. And so Trudeau's comments that he's putting this now back on to the chiefs, right, that he's offering to meet, the chiefs are saying, we will meet with you as soon as the RCMP are out of the territory. So there seems to be, on Canadian politicians' side, playing the media, I think, in terms of actually not getting to the root of the problem. And if you look at history, even in the last 30 years, from Oka to Ipperwash, Gustafson Lake, Elsipogtog in 2013, when governments cannot work with Indigenous people nation to nation, as these founding agreements that allow newcomers like myself to be here, when that process isn't followed, politicians often use the police and military force as sort of a might is right approach, and that risks escalating things, creating more resentment, and ensuring that actions like this continue to happen.
My apologies, Sean. We're almost out of time here, but really quickly, what do you think should happen then? Should the blockades come down? Or is this the path towards dialogue to say this is why we're putting these blockades up, because we need to have these conversations, as you're talking about reconciliation, but it goes much more beyond what you're seeing here?
I think the barricades will come down when the RCMP are out of Wet'suwet'en territory and the Canada GasLink project is paused for those nation-to-nation dialogues. If that's what Canadians want for the blockades to come down, they need to pressure their MPs and politicians to ensure that those negotiations can happen. And I think until Canada has the courage to really put truth and reconciliation on the table and model what that looks like, these blockades might come down temporarily, but this situation will not end quickly.
All right, Sean Carleton, professor and historian of Indigenous settler relations at Mount Royal University. Great having you on the program, Sean. Thank you for laying out the land for us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.